Hello there, and welcome to the Archive in Between, where I read stories collected from across the dimensions. Take a subscription so you can find me again if you decide to leave. Today's story doesn't have a name, but I like to call it Family Business by Quillinkparchment on Reddit. My husband was poring over the newspapers on the kitchen counter as I crept up behind him in my pajamas. Businessman knifed to death in reclusive Townsend bungalow. I read out the headlines over his shoulder. At the first word, he jumped up quicker than a cat would have, empty coffee cup in hand, ready to smash into my skull. Then he relaxed. I raised my eyebrows at him. "Hey, that's just over in the next town. Weren't you there last night?" "Crazy coincidence, right?" he said, swiftly placing the ceramic mug noiselessly on the marble top, a feat which I'd found impossible to replicate. "You're up early. First day jitters?" "A little," I admitted. The untimely death of my uncle from a heart attack a week earlier had left me at the helm of the family business, a few years earlier than expected. Today would be the first day I officially assumed my new duties. "I've got an important recruitment today." The beep of the washing machine sounded, distracting me. "You did the laundry?" "I had some exercise clothes to wash," he said, pouring me a cup of coffee. "And I thought you'd be occupied this morning." "Ah, you sweet man," I said, dropping a kiss on his head. "I've some time, so I'll hang them to dry now." "No, I'll do it," he said quickly, stirring in the milk with almost inhuman rapidness. But I was already pulling my white blouse out of the washing machine. There was a red stain across the chest. Blood. I looked at him, and his face was pale. "Ah, silly me," I said, smacking my forehead. "I forgot to soak my period-stained underwear in hydrogen peroxide beforehand. And you must have selected the hot wash." A transfer of blood of this kind would require an amount closer to me bleeding out my entire body. An amount, in fact, consistent with that from a knifing. But my oblivious husband wore a look of relief. "It's all right," he chuckled, taking the blouse from my hands and chucking it back into the machine. "Let's run the wash a second time. And if the blood's still there, I'll get you a new blouse. My money just came in today." Money. I wandered back into the kitchen, wondering why my husband, a crack shot, would have chosen to kill at close range. Then my eye landed on the newspaper article, where the subheading read, "Rival with personal grudge suspected." Ah, to fake a crime of passion. I nodded approvingly. Smart. My husband twirled me around for a lingering kiss, and as he pulled away, I saw that he had smoothly closed the newspapers. "It's too fine a morning for such fixation on grim news, my love," he said. "Yes, my money. From the stock market. I do day trading, remember?" Yes, I did remember. He'd been doing day trading ever since I'd overheard him discussing security standards and asset neutralization on the phone years earlier, a conversation he'd promptly ended when he'd spotted me. He'd come up to me hours later, after extensive research, I was sure, twittering on about how he'd been trying to pursue market-neutral strategies when building his asset portfolio. "Ah, yes, you're always making killings in the stock market," I said, keeping my face straight. He flinched a little at my choice of idiom, but was otherwise unaffected. "Yes," he said, "lucky me, so I get to enjoy my hobby of birdwatching." A hobby he'd developed when, weeks after that earlier phone call, I'd walked in on him on another call saying, "The eagle has landed." Now he did all of his communications over text. "Are you looking out for any birds today?" I asked idly, picking up my cup for a sip. "I see that you've packed that." I jerked my chin towards his backpack, where a rifle scope poked out. "Ah, yes," he said, nearly jumping over the low-lying coffee table in his haste to tuck the offending item out of view. "A new scope for my camera. You won't believe the beauties I'd taken with this." He hurtled nimbly back to my side, taking his phone out of his pocket as he showed me some close-up shots of kingfishers and hummingbirds. The pictures were gorgeous, and would also explain the bill for the various photo-sharing websites charged to his supplementary credit card. Then his phone chimed, and a text message scrolled across the top. "Target located at..." He whipped his phone away, desperately swiping the message upwards to dismiss it. I turned away so he wouldn't see me smile. "Anyway," he said, in a valiant attempt at nonchalance, "what was it you said? You've got an important recruitment today?" "Yes, as a matter of fact, I do." I put my mug down and looked at him, wondering how to begin. "Well, go on then," he said, stowing his phone into his pocket. "Who are you supposed to recruit, and how will it help your family business?" "Oh, they'd be an invaluable addition, with their skill and foresight, on the job at least," I said. "I've heard, though, that they're not quite so meticulous in their personal lives." "You can't gauge potential employees by their personal lives," he said reasonably. "They have enough stressors on the job. Home is a safe space they can relax in." "You're right," I said. His phone chimed again, and he checked his watch. "You need to leave?" "No, it's okay," he said, though I noted the nervous energy with which his fingers were drumming the counter. Possibly he was already late for whatever mission it was. "Your new job's more important. So, what about the recruitment?" I surveyed him, this 6-foot, well-muscled assassin who was as deadly as he was dear. "No, it really is nothing much," I said. "You sure? I know you're under a lot of pressure, now that you're the boss." "It's nothing I can't handle," I said, smiling. "Go on. The early bird catches the worm, you know." "Thanks, honey," he said, leaning in and kissing my cheek. "Well, in this case, I'm trying to catch the bird, so—" "The early slug catches the bird?" I suggested, thinking of shotgun projectiles. "Slugs are too slow," he said with a laugh, shouldering his backpack. "Just like you sometimes," I thought affectionately, as the door closed behind him. At that moment, my phone buzzed. It was a call from my chief advisor. "Good morning, ma'am," greeted the consigliere. "My apologies for calling so early, but you'll need to hear what the capo bastoni of the other society has done. Possibly the time has come for him to be eliminated. A job, I think, suitable for the new recruit?" "Ah," I said, "no. One of our usual will do." "But what about that recruitment you were handling?" I watched my husband through the window as he walked out the front gate. He turned around and waved at me with a toothy grin. Home was a safe space he could relax in, only if I was his wife and not his boss. And if that meant I would still continue to be privy to his antics, well, it was a pretty sweet deal. "Oh," I said into the phone as I waved back at him, my own smile just as wide. "We're nixing that recruitment. Permanently." Thanks for stopping by and listening to the story. Take a subscription. It'll lead you back if you get lost, and it'll let you know when I'm ready to read again. I look forward to seeing you then.